It was one of those tense city moments that start small but quickly spiral into something bigger, something that reveals just how much pressure brews beneath the surface of America's most powerful cities. A simple altercation between former NFL quarterback Mark Sanchez and a truck driver recently made headlines, not because of violence or scandal, but because it exposed something far deeper: the growing frustration, division, and unrelenting stress that leaders and citizens alike are facing in modern urban America. What looked like a heated street argument became a mirror reflecting the struggles of leadership, fame, and survival in an era where everyone feels one wrong move away from breaking down. Mark Sanchez, once the celebrated face of the New York Jets, knows what it's like to live under the microscope. From being a young star leading his team to the AFC Championship, to later being criticized for every misstep, Sanchez's life has always played out publicly. But this time, it wasn't a football field or a sports headline that put him in the spotlight. It was a moment of raw human emotion on a city street. Reports described a confrontation that began over something as ordinary as a traffic misunderstanding. The truck driver, reportedly frustrated over blocked lanes and delays, exchanged heated words with Sanchez, who reacted defensively. Soon, witnesses saw the situation escalate, voices rose, and phones came out to record what many assumed would be just another viral altercation. Yet, beyond the shouting and frustration, this incident struck a nerve because it represented something much larger: the deep sense of tension that runs through America's big cities today. Urban environments like New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago are boiling with economic inequality, political pressure, public scrutiny, and a constant struggle for control. And when those under pressure, whether they're city leaders, celebrities, or ordinary workers, collide in moments of stress, the cracks in the system become visible. Mark Sanchez has lived his entire adult life in the public eye, celebrated one day and scrutinized the next. Fame, especially in a city like New York, is both a gift and a burden. The same fans who once cheered your name can turn cold when you fall short of expectations. For years, Sanchez carried the image of a quarterback who didn't quite live up to the city's lofty dreams. He became a symbol of both promise and disappointment. And that kind of public narrative doesn't fade easily. It follows you, shaping how people perceive your every action. When the argument with the truck driver broke out, it wasn't just two people clashing over a blocked road. It was two different worlds colliding: the world of privilege and pressure represented by a public figure, and the world of exhaustion and survival represented by a working-class man just trying to do his job. It's the same tension that plays out daily in cities where inequality is stark, tempers are short, and everyone feels unheard. The pressures on public figures today go far beyond performance. They're expected to be perfect in every way. A single viral moment can damage reputations built over decades. In a world ruled by social media, where cameras are everywhere and public opinion shifts in seconds, even a minor confrontation can turn into a defining moment. For someone like Sanchez, whose career and identity have been shaped by how people perceive him, such an encounter hits especially hard. But this incident doesn't just tell us about fame. It tells us about leadership. America's cities are struggling under immense pressure. Homelessness, traffic chaos, rising costs, and political polarization have created a tense environment where everyone, from mayors to police chiefs to everyday citizens, feels constantly on edge. The streets that once symbolized opportunity now often symbolize frustration. When a leader or a public figure loses their composure, it's easy to judge. But perhaps it's also a sign that the systems meant to keep our cities running smoothly are stretched too thin. Think about the truck driver in this story. A man working long hours in a job that's physically demanding and often thankless. In many ways, he represents the backbone of city life. Without workers like him, cities stop moving. Yet, he's also under immense stress. Traffic delays, impossible deadlines, rising living costs, and constant pressure to perform. The roads of a big city can be a battlefield, not of violence, but of survival. When someone like Sanchez, a man who's lived a completely different kind of pressure, crosses paths with that frustration, sparks are inevitable. The truth is, both men were likely carrying far more than what the argument was actually about. For Sanchez, it might have been about feeling constantly judged. For the driver, It could have been about being constantly overlooked. This is the emotional landscape of modern America, a place where everyone feels burdened, misunderstood, and stretched beyond their limits. City leaders across the country are grappling with this same sense of overwhelm. Every decision they make, whether it's about public safety, transportation, or housing, is met with criticism. They're expected to please everyone in a time when no one seems satisfied. The weight of leadership has never been heavier, and the consequences of failure have never been harsher. The altercation between Mark Sanchez and the truck driver may not have involved a mayor or a governor, but it still revealed the same pattern: frustration, exhaustion, and the collapse of patience in a system that feels constantly strained. In a way, this incident was a snapshot of how fractured our urban culture has become. Public figures can't afford to be human, workers can't afford to slow down, and cities can't afford to break, even though everyone within them is breaking a little more each day. The media often amplifies these conflicts, turning moments of vulnerability into viral entertainment. But beneath the headlines and outrage, there's a much deeper truth. These moments are cries for understanding. Mark Sanchez's experience reminds us that pressure doesn't discriminate. Whether you're throwing passes in front of 80,000 people or navigating a massive delivery truck through gridlock streets, the demands of city life can push anyone to their limit. The difference is visibility. When someone like Sanchez cracks under pressure, the world sees it. When an ordinary worker does, the world looks away. Yet both are reflections of the same struggle, a culture that demands perfection while offering little compassion. In the aftermath of the confrontation, Sanchez reportedly expressed regret, acknowledging that emotions got the best of him. And that's something everyone can relate to. In cities where noise never stops, where deadlines never end, and where the competition for space, success, and sanity is relentless, moments like this are almost inevitable. The important question isn't who was right or wrong. It's what these moments tell us about the way we're all living now. The leaders of America's big cities face an impossible task: keeping millions of people connected, safe, and satisfied in an environment built on constant motion. They're under constant scrutiny from the public, the media, and political opponents. Every traffic jam, every protest, every viral video becomes a referendum on their leadership. In that sense, Mark Sanchez's confrontation with a truck driver is symbolic of the world these leaders inhabit, one where every outburst, every flaw, every emotion becomes public property. The city, after all, is a living organism. It breathes, it moves, it reacts. When people in that ecosystem feel unseen or unheard, tension builds until it explodes in the smallest of moments. The Sanchez incident wasn't an isolated event. It was a reflection of a collective burnout that's spreading through our urban landscapes. It's what happens when human beings, overloaded with pressure and expectation, collide in spaces that no longer give them room to breathe. In the end, what happened between Mark Sanchez and the truck driver isn't just a story about a celebrity losing his temper. It's a reminder of the cost of life in a society that never slows down. The incident captured the emotional state of millions of people trying to hold themselves together in cities that test them every single day. It showed us that even those who seem to have everything, fame, success, recognition, are just as vulnerable to breaking under pressure as anyone else. As the story fades from headlines, its message remains. Every confrontation, every moment of anger or frustration in our cities is more than just a clash of personalities. It's a reflection of the growing strain we all share. Whether it's Mark Sanchez, a truck driver, or a city mayor, everyone's carrying the weight of a world that keeps demanding more. And maybe, if we look closely, this story isn't really about conflict at all. It's about understanding, the need to see the humanity in one another before pressure turns to chaos. Because in the end, the true strength of any city doesn't come from its buildings or its skyline. It comes from the people who live in it, learning, sometimes the hard way, how to handle the pressure without losing their compassion.